And I'm sure you guys have heard that, even though some students have told me that they've taken several classes and that no one ever said there was a career portfolio. I think it's kind of unfair because I keep saying it. No one else. Anyway, this one we're going to approach the subject of diversity and appreciation. And the only reason for that is because we have the luxury, because it's a history class, where we actually, there's a point in time in animation history where the subject of stereotypical animation comes into existence, and so we can actually use that. So you can actually write some information, something down, an essay or something down that will actually refer to your career portfolio assignments. Week 2, we're going to talk about the beginnings. You guys won't have a lot of assignments in this class, but the ones that you have, trust me, they will be kind of interesting. Next week, I'm going to provide you with the materials, and you're going to make one of those, I think it's the zoetrope or the Nikiscope. You're gonna make like an animated invention is what you're gonna make. I'm going to give you the instructions on how to make it. I'll supply you with the materials. It'll be a lot of fun. And the one thing I'll say, and I'll talk about it again next week, is that when you're designing this animated invention, you probably don't want to be too elaborate on the design. Meaning that the little drawings that you put on the wheel, you probably don't have to put a lot of detail, because the more detail, the least likely we're going to be able to see it. And your classmates will probably look at it, they'll pass them around, look at each other, and they'll probably lie to you and say, yeah, man, you're so awesome, man. You saw all the movements and everything, like little buttons on the shirt's great. They're lying. Anyway, the videos that we'll watch will probably be the Winsor McCay. We'll watch some Winsor McCay. Has anybody heard of Winsor McCay? Winsor McCay was the guy who actually created the animated cartoon Gertie the Dinosaur. Does that ring a bell? No. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll watch that one, and we'll watch there's another one which is really popular called the Mosquito, which I think is even better than Gertie. We'll watch that one. A lot of people have mixed thoughts about it. They don't really like it. They think it's kind of gross. Some people even said it was scary, but I don't think it's scary. But it does have some moments. It has moments. We'll watch that, and we'll watch a couple of random animations. We'll watch probably some of the early Tom and Jerry's. Believe it or not, before the Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry's, there were another 2 cartoon characters called Tom and Jerry. There was a little guy, it was a tall guy and a little guy. And they were called Tom and Jerry. I don't know if the Hanna-Barbera took that idea and replaced it with a cat and a mouse. I don't know, but there was an early Tom and Jerry. Week 3, we'll talk about the silent era, 1914 to 1928. We'll discuss this person in animation who's known as the pirate John Bray. I'll give you a question where it'll be so cool. It'll be an assignment where you can answer the assignment with one word. It'll be unbelievable. You'll be like, man, it's the best class ever. I like the homework. It's cool. It's really cool. And you'll brag about it to your other classmates. Week 4, we'll go to the golden age of cartoons. We'll have to skip, for us to actually hit all of the points. We'll have to skip some of the less appealing moments in time. So we'll kind of like skip a couple of years to actually hit like all the periods the years where there was like either contributions made that were really revolutionary, or if somebody came up with some big breakthrough in the development of animation. We'll talk more about that. So when we get to the golden age, we'll begin to start talking about color and sound, and we'll talk about the emergence of how Disney actually was how Disney actually came into existence. Believe it or not, Disney was probably one of the few animators who actually was under high scrutiny for the better part of his career. And then later on, in later years, he actually he became more of a well-known, loved business person in animation. But in the early years, Disney was constantly under the government's eye. They constantly were trying to figure out what Walt was doing, because Walt had a lot of things going on, and it was only because of the stuff that happened to him personally that when he started his own studio, he decided that he would carry out a different type of requirement and a different type of practice in his studio, which you'll find out will be kind of interesting. For some, it'll be interesting. For others, it won't be interesting. I'll just say that there's a handout that I'm going to give you, which is a letter from Disney himself, where he's the discussion in the letter is for this woman who actually wants to seek a position in the studio as an animator, as one of the people who actually is doing the drawing. And at that time, Walt felt that women didn't have the mental capacity to do the drawing part. It was Walt's feeling that women could only do the coloring and the cleanup. They couldn't do the drawing. But the woman who actually was seeking this position was a professor, at a university. She had taught animation. She had taught art. She had various degrees. So it seemed like she would be the obvious choice if it was something that was determined with rather from her skill. If the determination was based on her skill, then she would be the obvious choice. But to Disney, he just felt that he had never put a woman in that position, and he wasn't going to start now. So when you get the letter, don't go home and take it to your parent. Show it to them, because that happened before. I had somebody's dad come up here. We were talking. He was telling me, why don't you give him this letter about Walt Disney? Walt Disney was I love Walt Disney. I said, I love him too. He's all right. Yeah, but this letter makes him look like he's a bad guy. He was kind of bad. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. Really, from what we know, for most of us, from what we know of Walt Disney was what we see on TV, or in movies, interviews like that. Unfortunately, if you worked in the studio when Walt was alive, Walt really wasn't like that. In front of the camera, of course, he had to make himself be, a very nice, presentable business person, animator, creative person. But behind the camera, he was different. He was different. Walt Disney thought it was humorous or funny to him to fire people, fire everybody in the studio, on a random basis. He'd just pick out a day, some day in just any old month, and he'd just fire everybody. And then as they're walking out, he would rehire them. Hey, I'm just playing around. Come on, guys, come on. I just wanted to make, because he felt it's better to keep the staff in an unbalanced, mental, train of thought. It was better that way. That way he could actually have control over them. They never knew they were going to be fired. It was better. It was always better. And they respected him, because that way they were least likely to actually have a lot of words to say to Walt. That kind of stymied a lot of the discussions that Walt might receive later on when they're talking about a different movie that they're working on, because they were afraid of Walt. So it was better. And later, those gentlemen, those men and women, later left the Disney Studios and started their own studio. Week 5, we'll talk about the studio cartoon. We'll start talking about the emergence of how the animation studios started to actually present themselves in a way where they actually started to exist in the realm of the big picture or the feature outlet, and they actually had a place at some point in time, but it was very